think first off, to win 13 games in the league this year is you know, is really something. I'm just very grateful to our players and our coaching staff, because this league was daunting. It's the best I've seen it. And you know, there are a lot of cliches that you could throw at it, but to be tied for third, you know, when we're picked six and could have finished, you know, a lot lower than that, 24 wins by double digits is kind of historical. I think our fans enjoyed this team. Just so just reflecting on that, I'm very grateful for that. I'm a regular season guy. I'm a grind guy. I am. And I know to the victor go the spoils in postseason, and I'll be excited about postseason. Don't misunderstand me. But as a coach, I'm gonna get ready every night. I'm gonna get our guys to try to play hard every night, play the right way, and then put ourselves in position to make something happen in the tournament. You know, we got some guys like Denver Jones playing like really, really well, really, really hot. Stuff like that continues. Janai Broom does what he does. Chaney and Jalen Dillon. Our front line was really, 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 really good. I'm just not sure that I'm not so sure there's a better front line in the SEC. That's a lot, because Tennessee's is really good, and Kentucky's is really good, and Alabama's really good. I mean, and I don't usually heap more praise than I do. Very proud of those guys. To sweep Georgia matters. It's still that game matters. It's Alabama and Georgia, the games that matter, at least to our fan base, the most. I thought Georgia's team played hard and came in with a good game plan. We played exceptionally well in Athens, and so when it came to a second time around, you know, what buttons do you push? What do you change when we put our cards on the table? And Mike made some adjustments, and we both did. But it was a good win. Obviously, we shared the ball. On the offensive end, 29 assists is a pretty good way of sharing it.
Berg and then Johnny and then Jack.
Bruce, Denver going 7-9 from deep is tied a career high for him. Just, I think he's hit over 50% of his threes the last 10 games or so. Like, just
Yep.
what does that mean for this team when he's hitting like that?
Well, it makes us more dangerous, and a better coach would have got him 14 shots instead of just 9. For real. So that's on me. But the thing I love about Denver is he's locked in defensively. He's locked in the scouting reports. He's locked into his work ethic. Like, he's being rewarded because he does all the right things almost all the time. And so, you know what? You put yourself in position for God to bless you. And whether you get the blessing or not, you put yourself in position. Denver Jones has put himself in this position with the way he trains, the way he works, the way he carries himself. He's a terrific player.
Hey, Bruce, you've coached in this SEC tournament so many times now. Can you speak to how big it is to get that double bye, just from in terms of rest, and if you have designs on winning the thing?
Well, it takes 3 games to win a tournament, 3 games to win a championship. So we've won 3 games in a row several times this year. Obviously, we know the competition in the league is incredible. The hardest game to win will be the first one. With our depth, once we get past the first one, if we can get past the first one, the second and third will actually be easier. The opponents won't necessarily, but our depth's been really good. Our guys should be fairly fresh. You know, we don't know. I don't know what our matchups are yet. I haven't really looked at it yet. So, does anybody know who we're playing first yet? Do we know? South Carolina, Vandy, Arkansas. Okay. Vandy gave Florida a really good game today, didn't they? They beat them?
They beat them.
Vandy beat Florida.
Yes.
Tells you a little bit about the league. And South Carolina and Mississippi State was a nail biter, right? And Arkansas almost beat Alabama. So you look at those 3 teams right there, and you look at how all 3 of those teams played. They're all playing well. And so we'll be ready for them.
Jack and then Mike in the front.
Coach, every time that Georgia seemed to go on a run and cut that lead down, your boys battled back and they extended that lead, pushing it to about a 20-point lead at one point. Just talk about the resiliency the guys had to take Georgia's best shot and be able to hold them off and continue to push that lead forward.
I appreciate that. I mean, that's what good teams do. I thought that most of the time it was when we knocked down a couple of shots, and a couple of times it was when they missed a couple of shots. I would have loved to have seen us be better defensively, make more solid plays. I thought, physically, I thought they were more physical than we were. They got to the foul line 30 times, and they had 14 offensive rebounds to our 26 defensive. I thought Georgia was more physical, and we're going to have to play with greater toughness, greater physicality, if we're going to win in March.
All right, Mike, Cameron, Jacob, Berg, and then Nathan.
Coach, last game in Neville, going back to the beginning of the season, you promised the greatest balance of minutes of any team you've ever coached. 34 points from the bench tonight. Can you talk about how that bared out over the season and how proud you are of the way those guys developed the season?
Well, I'm glad to see now that when I tell you guys something at the beginning of the season, you might believe me now. So I'm glad to see that I was open and honest, and I felt like we'd shoot it better this year. I thought we'd share it better this year, and we got some. But I have a really high standard, and the kids will tell you that I have a high standard. We're a hard team to scout because we've got so many guys that can shoot it, make plays, and and I also think because nobody's had to carry us, and Jedi Broom on many teams will play 32, 33 minutes, and a big fellow could be exhausted this time of the year. He's not, and so hopefully his motor will run at a high level, and he'll be able to again Cheney and Jay will. I got a monster on the floor every time. I get Dylan and Jay. I mean, we just don't drop off, and I'm hoping that physicality and that energy and effort will pay off for us.
All right, Jacob, then Cameron, and then Berg.
Bruce, I asked the guys where they thought this team had improved the most from game one to now. Jalen said the defense and how they pressure the basketball. Where do you think this team has improved the most since game one and going into postseason play with the SEC tournament next week?
I'd say that Jalen's probably right that we've got a good understanding of how to guard and how we want to try and guard, and Georgia scored 47 in the second half, so I'm not really high on our. I don't know if I agree with Jalen right now after that second half. But the team's got better, in a lot of ways.
Coach, teams have been doubling and tripling Janai Broom like crazy all game, especially these last few weeks. And he had 5 assists today. Just talk about how he's been able to impact the game in different ways.
I mean, Janai would love to score more, but I feel good about getting him the ball because he is unselfish and he's a really, really good passer. And I think that, for Janai, the ability to be able to make plays offensively and defensively inside and out, shoot it inside out, score it inside out, be a reliable free throw shooter and a playmaker, that's the stuff that translates to the next level for him.
All right, Berg, and then Nathan with the last question.
Bruce, Cheney, first half, he had 6 and 3 with 4 assists. I mean, just the way he's playing on offense right now, how much better do you think this team is overall when you got that coming off the bench like that?
Cheney might be our hardest worker. He might be our hardest worker. I usually lump them in groups sometimes, but he is always in the gym, always in the weight room, always in the training room, always, within the framework of the number of hours that were allotted with Coach Bowman and the staff. And it's paying off for him. It's paying off for him. He is a couple of those juniors who have really, like Denver and Cheney, for example. Those guys have a great impact this year and had a lot to do with where we are right now. And I'm about this year, but those 2 guys are going to be stars for us next year.
Nathan with the last one.
Bruce, the guys that were honored pregame for Senior Day. I know you've talked about this being a hard-working group this season. I guess how would you characterize those guys that have been with you last few years now, Janai for a couple years? What are sort of the things that'll stand out to you about that group?
I think the number one thing that'll stand out to me is how much they love Auburn and how much Auburn loves them. I know it sounds goofy. It's not. It's real. They love Auburn, and they love the opportunity Auburn's given them. They love our fans. They love playing in front of the Jungle and Neville and Maria, and they're grateful. They are. And I think that's the reason why guys stay 4 or 5 years. That's why it's not been a kind of a revolving door. It's got far less to do with me and my coaching staff and a lot to do with our university and our community, the way they're treated, the way they serve. That stands up to me. You know, Dylan Cardwell obviously is a leader in that regard. He'll historically, you know, go down as one of the great student athletes at Auburn, not just because of what he did on the court, but what he does in the community and his ministry, the impact Jedi Broom's had on our team. You know, everybody loves hardworking guys like Chris Moore and Jalen Williams, the all-time winningest player, and Leor Berman, 5 years in graduate school, and I mean the whole group. They have represented Auburn basketball extremely well.
Thank you, Coach, and thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks.